Obviously, I've put together some slides just to run through the subject matter that was on the flyer and the invite for this morning. Again, I think Gary's session went really well. That just when questions cropped up, people raised them and we dealt with them as we went along. So please feel free to do the same. The first topic that I've been asked to talk about is choosing the right managing agent. So the first thing to consider about choosing the right managing agent is whose decision is it as to who the managing agent is, because very often it isn't the leaseholder's decision. Very often with a new, well, not very often, always with a new development, the developer will appoint the first managing agent, and you'll buy your flat with no say whatsoever in who the managing agent is. More often than not, the developer will then sell on the freehold, and the freeholder may well appoint, either keep on the first managing agent or appoint a different managing agent. If you exercise right to manage, then you, as a leaseholder group, have the choice to appoint a managing agent of your choosing. If the development's been set up with a residence management company, then again, the leaseholders do have a mechanism for deciding who that managing agent is going to be. What you will find is that under the terms of the lease of your particular property, there will be what I call a management party, and that will either be the freeholder if you've got a two-party lease. So if you've got a lease where all management responsibility sits with the landlord, then the freeholder has to discharge those obligations and they will be the one who appoints the managing agent. If you've got a tripartite lease where all management responsibility sits with a management company, then the management company will be the party that appoints the managing agent. So if you are a leaseholder, the first thing, if you're a leaseholder and you are unhappy with the managing agent that you have, the first thing you need to try and ascertain is how can we go about trying to get a different management company, a different managing agent. And the first thing you need to decide or need to work out in doing that is who actually appoints the managing agent for our particular block. If it's a resident management company or an RTM company, then essentially that is the leaseholders through their elected representatives, the directors of that company. But if it's a two-party lease, then it's the freeholder, and you've then got a different job to do in terms of persuading the freeholder that actually you want a different managing agent than the one you've got. Assuming that you have either got the responsibility of appointing your own managing agent, or you've managed to have a dialogue with the freeholder about which managing agent you want, then when you're selecting a managing agent, what you need to do is be absolutely clear about what it is you're trying to achieve. So the overarching objective. Are you trying to save money? Are you trying to improve standards? Are you trying to do both? It's unlikely that both will come together, I have to say. But you know, what you should do as a block is almost have a mission statement. Do you want to be the best serviced apartment block in Liverpool, or do you want to be an apartment block in Liverpool with the cheapest service charge? And decide what it is you're trying to achieve. If it is that you're trying to increase standards, then you need to go out and you need to pick a managing agent who you are confident is going to provide you with the standards of service that you want. If it is that you want the lowest possible service charge, then go and find someone who's cheap as chips. But decide what it is you're trying to achieve. If you haven't got that clear in your own mind, you're not going to make the right selection. When you then move on to the selection process, how do you decide which managing agent is the right managing agent for you? Reputation, track record. Very often the best way of finding a service provider is by recommendation from someone else. You know, our managing agent is brilliant, why don't you speak to them? Or, oh, my brother lives in a block of flats and his managing agent is great, why don't you speak to them? If someone else is going to speak highly of them without any hidden agenda for doing so. If they're just going to say, well, we pay these folk money every month, but actually we think they do a pretty good job, then that's a pretty powerful message to get. Again, you need to company size and location. Do you want a firm that's 2 minutes walk away? Or do you want a firm, is whether or not they can walk to your site not important to you? Do you want a firm that's got 30 different property managers so that if yours is on holiday, someone else can turn up? Again, it's just deciding what you regard as being important. We as a business manage several blocks within Liverpool. And we're based in Macclesfield in Cheshire, so it's taken me an hour to drive here this morning, and if it had been a Monday morning, it would probably have taken me 2 hours. Yet, I would argue that doesn't affect the provision of our service to our developments in Liverpool at all. Our service provision is that we will be there, whether it's weekly or whether it's monthly or whatever it is, and we're there. It doesn't matter to the leaseholders how long we've sat in a car to get there, we're there. And again, we're as a company, we employ 114 people. And so I would argue that actually that's a much more important statistic, that it doesn't matter whether your person's ill or your person's on holiday or your person's whatever. I've got someone I can send to your block of flats to do the job that we need to do. Contractor network and relationships, I think, is a very important issue when considering a managing agent. Ultimately, our job is to arrange everything else, and we do that by appointing third-party contractors. And so, if you need an electrician at 3 o'clock in the morning, can I supply you with an electrician at 3 o'clock in the morning that's local to your development? If I can't, then you need to be asking questions about how I'm going to actually service your development. Am I going to provide you with a cleaner who comes from Cheshire, or can I provide you with a cleaner who's 5 miles down the road? Because if I can provide you with a cleaner who's 5 miles down the road, your cleaning is going to cost you less than if they've got to drive for an hour to get to your block. So you want, I would suggest, to select a managing agent who's got as wide a contractor base as possible, whilst also managing that contractor base. Gary spoke before about the implications for employers' liability of making sure that the contractors that are working at your site have got their own employers' liability in place and that they've got their own insurances in place. And so in order for a contractor to get approved onto our system, we check all their insurances, we check their VAT status, we take references on them, and once a contractor is approved on our system, then we undertake a process of continual evaluation. They will be working at several developments for us, and if they let us down at one, they'll get sacked off them all. And they know that, and our business is valuable to them, and so that makes them strive to do a good job for us, which in turn means they're providing the right level of services to you. So how your managing agent manages their contractor base, I would suggest, is quite important. Procedures, structure, key contacts. If any of you want a new managing agent, please give me a ring. And if I am the one that turn up to talk to you about that, I would suggest you don't appoint me, because I won't be the one physically managing your building. That will be one of my estate managers. And the person you therefore want to meet is my estate manager, not me. I'll probably turn up as well, but I'll bring our estate manager with us, because you need to work out, is this a person you can work with on a day-to-day basis? Is this someone you can have a relationship with, someone that is going to respond to you in the right level and all the rest of it? So I would suggest it's very important that you meet the people that are actually going to be the boots on the ground at your development, and not the salesperson or the managing director or whoever it might be, but the person that's physically going to be doing the job. Accountability. You need to make sure that your managing agent is going to understand that they are working for you, and that they're going to be able to provide you with the information you want when you want it, and that they're going to be fully accountable in terms of the service they provide. So, if you are a right to manage company or you're a residence management company, sort out at the beginning what information you want. Do you want monthly management accounts? Do you want quarterly management accounts? How often do you want to see a debtors list? How often do you want to know, how often do you want them on your site? How often do you want to know what orders have been placed in the last month and how long those orders took to complete? And those sorts of issues, as I say, they're working for you, and in the same way as contractors work for me, I want to know that they've done a good job for me. Your managing agent is a contractor working for you, and you need to get yourself in a position where they can justify their existence to you. I've mentioned before, when I sort of chipped into Gary's presentation about ARMA and RICS. As Jerry said before, for my sins and the current chairman of ARMA, we are in the process of introducing something called ARMA Q, which is industry self-regulation. Managing agents are completely unregulated. There is no statutory regulation of managing agents at all. Anyone could open up tomorrow and call themselves a managing agent, whether they know what they're doing or they don't. Managing agents are in quite a unique position in terms of the amount of money that we hold. We hold hundreds of thousands of pounds of leaseholders' money, literally hundreds of thousands of pounds of leaseholders' money, and I could have a criminal conviction for fraud, and there would be nothing stopping me opening up as a managing agent and holding all that money on your behalf. What ARMA Q is intending to do is to try and fill that void. The last government indicated an appetite to introduce statutory regulation of managing agents. And then we had an election, the new government came in and they said, we're not regulating anything. And at that point, ARMA said, well, if the government's not going to do it, we will do it. And that's good as far as it goes, in as much as ARMA can regulate its members. But what ARMA can't do is regulate the many managing agents out there who choose not to join ARMA. And so we are having a big push at the moment, with my ARMA hat on, of trying to educate leaseholders, trying to educate freeholders, to say, actually, you can choose a managing agent who is signed up to ARMA Q, who is going to be regulated, or you can choose a managing agent who is completely unregulated. Please make sure you make the right decision and choose one who's regulated. And we are hopeful that, as a trade organisation, the impetus to self-regulation will come from people living in blocks of flats. Because all of a sudden a managing agent who isn't signed up to ARMA Q will find that leaseholders won't consider appointing them, and therefore they will therefore choose voluntarily to sign up to ARMA Q, because it's good for their business. So again, when looking for a managing agent, I would suggest that if someone has not chosen to sign up to voluntary regulation, there's a reason for that, and that's possibly because they're not doing things properly. In which case I would suggest you shouldn't be talking to them. The RICS is another route to regulation, and I couldn't particularly stand here and argue that there is an advantage of picking an ARMA member over an RICS member, although when ARMA Q actually goes live on the 1st of January next year, then ARMA will mean something more than the RICS means. So again, I would suggest you check out the credentials of whoever you're looking to appoint.